They hurt you. Let's not pretend they didn't. They walked away as if loyalty were a phase, as if your presence were replaceable. But here's the truth. Your silence now is louder than their betrayal. You don't need to raise your voice, seek revenge, or chase an apology that will never come. Let them go. Let the silence grow, because one day regret will visit them like an old shadow they can't outrun. And you'll be far from the wreckage, stronger, quieter, and untouchable. Don't hate them. Their regret will handle it. Silence is not weakness, it's mastery. They expected noise, drama, a storm of accusations. They thought you'd crumble under the weight of their betrayal, that you'd beg for answers, scream for closure, drown in the chaos they created. But you didn't. Instead, you chose something far more terrifying to them. You chose silence, not because you were weak, not because you had no words, but because you had mastered something they couldn't understand: restraint. You see, silence is not the absence of strength, it's the presence of discipline. Anyone can shout when they're angry. Anyone can throw words like daggers when they feel wronged. But it takes power, real, calm, unshakable power. A walk away without needing to explain yourself. To watch someone burn the bridge and still not hand them the water. They don't know how to interpret your stillness, so they label it weakness. But in truth, your silence is a mirror. It reflects everything they tried to ignore. Their dishonesty, their selfishness, their cowardice. Every time you don't react, they are forced to confront their own character. And believe me, that discomfort grows. They start to wonder why you're not fighting for them, why you're not reaching out, why your name is absent in their chaos. And that's when regret begins its slow crawl. Not in explosions, but in quiet moments, when the world is still, and they remember your loyalty, your patience, your consistency. Those moments don't come with fanfare. They come when it's dark, when the mask is off, when they are left alone with the truth they tried to bury. Your silence isn't passive, it's surgical. It's you choosing peace over performance. It's you knowing that you don't need to prove your worth to someone who already knew it, and still walked away. And the most poetic part, silence protects your dignity. While they tell their side, twist their version, seek comfort in shallow validation, you stay grounded. You don't need to convince anyone of what happened, because the truth doesn't need defense. It waits, and in time it rises. So when you feel the urge to break that silence, ask yourself, will words restore what they shattered? Or will silence remind them of everything they lost? When you stop defending yourself, you start discovering yourself. And in that discovery, you realize the battle isn't with them. It never was. The real battle was choosing peace over pride, stillness over spectacle. And you won, so no, don't hate them. Let them wonder. Let them feel the emptiness your silence leaves behind. You're not bitter. You're becoming. You're not broken. You're building. And one day they'll realize what your silence was saying all along. You had everything, and you let it go. Time doesn't forget what you gave. They may forget you, but time doesn't. They may act like your sacrifices were small, like your loyalty was expected, like your presence was nothing more than background noise in their story. But time remembers it all. Every late night call you answered when no one else would. Every time you stayed when you had every right to walk away. Every moment you dimmed your light just to make them feel seen. You gave them patience when they gave you silence. You gave them understanding when they gave you confusion, and they called it normal. They thought you'd always be there, that kindness was your default, that forgiveness was your weakness. But time knows the truth. Time has recorded every moment they took you for granted, and one day it will remind them. See, people often don't realize the weight of your love until it's gone, until the consistency you offered vanishes like it was never there. They search for it in others, expecting the same softness, the same sacrifice, but they find only coldness, conditions, and limits. That's when the memory of you begins to grow in their mind, not as a regret just yet, but as a comparison. They start to notice how no one listens like you did, how no one checks in like you used to, how no one offers comfort with the same quiet sincerity, and that's the beginning of a truth they can't run from. You weren't ordinary. You were rare, and they lost you. They'll try to convince themselves they made the right choice. They'll scroll through distractions, laugh too loud in rooms that don't know your name, and pretend they've moved on. But time works differently with the heart. It waits patiently. It does not forget the weight of what was real, and when their noise fades, when the applause dies, when the phone stops ringing, when the spotlight shifts, time will place your memory right in front of them, not out of spite, but out of balance, because everything you gave with pure intention has energy, and energy never dies. It echoes. You see, the beautiful tragedy of being someone with a good heart is that your love is often remembered too late. You give so deeply, so freely, that people mistake it for abundance. They assume you'll always give more. But when you finally choose yourself, when you step back, when you stop pouring into people who only take, that's when the drought begins. And in that drought, they'll remember the rain you were. So don't carry the burden of being forgotten. You were never meant to be remembered by those who couldn't even recognize you while you were standing in front of them. Let time handle it. Let time whisper your worth into the silence they created. One day they'll look for you, and they won't find you, not because you disappeared, but because you finally belonged to yourself. And that is a lesson only time can teach. The weight of regret is personal. You don't have to expose them. You don't have to announce what they did or gather an audience to prove your pain. Life has a strange way of balancing things, quietly, naturally, and without your help. You see, regret doesn't need your voice. It has its own clock, its own rhythm, and when it arrives, it doesn't knock gently. It invades, not in public, where they can defend themselves with pride and performance, but in private, where they're most vulnerable. You won't see it, but they'll feel it, in the quiet moments, in the stillness of a night that won't let them sleep. That's where the weight of regret finds them, and it's heavier than any revenge you could ever plan. You don't need to hate them, because their memory of you will do what your anger never could. It will sit with them. It will remind them of your patience when they gave you chaos, of your presence when they gave you distance, of your honesty when they gave you excuses, and the longer time moves forward, the clearer the contrast becomes. At first, they'll distract themselves. New people, loud moments, shallow validation. But eventually all of that fades. And what's left? The silence, the memory, the echo of someone who loved them right, and whom they treated wrong. Regret is a deeply personal prison. No judge, no jury. Just the quiet awareness that you had something golden, and you dropped it for something that never even shined. And the thing about regret is, it doesn't arrive immediately. It waits. It waits until the illusion fades, until the mask slips, until the truth can't be avoided anymore. Then it moves in, and when it does, it doesn't need your permission. It doesn't care how much they pretend to be unaffected. It lives behind their eyes. It interrupts their laughter. It questions their choices when no one is watching. And that's a kind of justice far more powerful than your rage could ever be. So don't chase closure from someone who doesn't even have clarity. Don't poison your spirit by carrying their guilt. Let them go. Let life do what life does, and trust this, the universe has a flawless memory. What they fail to value you will return to them, not as a second chance, but as a reminder of the one they wasted. And by then you'll be long gone, not in distance but in evolution. You'll have grown into a piece they can't disturb, into a self they no longer recognize. And that's when their regret becomes unbearable, not because they lost you, but because they realize they were never ready for someone like you. You don't have to teach them a lesson. Life already enrolled them in the class. The truth will speak when it's ready, and when it does, it won't whisper, it will roar, quietly, personally, and far too late. Healing is not revenge. It's freedom they thought your silence meant defeat, that your absence was surrender, that walking away meant you had nothing left. But what they never understood is that your decision to heal wasn't about them. It was about you. Choosing peace over conflict, choosing distance over destruction, choosing yourself over the endless loop of trying to fix what never valued you, that is not revenge, that is freedom, and freedom isn't loud. It's not a declaration, it's not an Instagram post or a dramatic exit. It's subtle. It's you waking up one day and realizing that you don't check your phone for their name anymore, that the ache is gone, that the need to explain yourself has vanished. It's not about proving them wrong, it's about proving to yourself that your life can bloom without their shadow in it. Healing is not the fire, it's the rebuild after the ashes. It's the quiet joy of rediscovering who you are without the noise of someone else's expectations. It's not about getting even, it's about getting whole. Because what they broke wasn't you. It was the illusion that you needed their validation to be complete. And when that illusion shatters, something stronger emerges. A version of you that doesn't beg to be understood. A version of you that stops replaying the past. A version of you that can finally breathe without checking if they're watching. You see, real healing isn't petty. It doesn't care whether they see you thriving. It doesn't crave the moment when they realize what they lost. Healing is when you no longer need that moment at all, because you've reached a point where your peace is more valuable than their presence. And that's when you know you've won a war they didn't even know you were fighting, the war to protect your own soul. They might think you're cold now, detached, distant. Let them. You're not bitter, you're wise. You're not cruel, you're clear. You've learned that not everyone deserves access to the softest parts of you. You've learned that boundaries are not walls. They're doors that only open for those who knock with respect. And while they may wonder why you stopped trying, why you no longer reach out, why you moved on without ceremony, the answer is simple. Healing doesn't need an audience. It just needs intention. So if you're in the process right now, walking through the fog of pain, shedding the layers of old wounds, know this: you're not failing, you're transforming. Every day you choose not to go back is a step forward. Every time you resist the urge to explain yourself is growth. Every breath you take without them is proof that healing is happening. You don't have to hate them. You don't even have to forgive them today. Just keep healing, keep choosing peace, because in the end the most powerful thing you can ever say is nothing at all. And live well without them. That's not revenge, that's redemption, that's freedom. Let regret knock on their door, let them laugh, let them celebrate, let them believe they got away with it. You don't need to interrupt their illusion. Time will do that for you. Because there's a moment in every life when the noise fades, the distractions die down, and the show is over. And that's when the truth begins to speak, not in a whisper, not in a hint, but in a voice they can't silence. You don't need to slam the door in their face. Just close it gently and walk away, because one day regret will come knocking, and it won't knock on your door, it will knock on theirs. It will arrive uninvited, heavy, relentless, and cold. Not out of cruelty, but out of balance. The scales always find a way to even themselves. You don't have to wish them pain. Life has a strange way of making people sit in the emptiness they once created for others. They will scroll through old messages looking for warmth and find only echoes. They will try to replace your soul with noise and wonder why it doesn't feel like home. Because what you gave was real, what you gave was rare, and what they chose instead was temporary. That's not on you, that's on them. And it's their door regret will knock on. Not once, but again and again, until they finally open it and face what they ran from. You don't need to make them see. One day they will, not because you said anything, but because everything you were is now missing from their life. The calm, the depth, the loyalty, the heart That kind of absence becomes a presence all its own. And when they try to fill it with empty people, shallow moments and temporary highs, they'll realize something. It's not you they're chasing. It's how they felt when you loved them, and they will never find that again. That's the secret they never see coming. That regret is not about wanting you back, it's about knowing they can't go back. It's not about fixing it, it's about realizing they broke something sacred. And when that realization comes, it doesn't knock like a guest. It breaks in like a storm. You won't hear about it, you won't need to, because your silence, your peace, your forward motion, that will echo louder than any confrontation ever could. So let them have their moment. Let them win in their little games. Let them believe they mattered more than they did. And then let it all go. You don't have to carry their guilt. You don't have to narrate your worth. The right people won't need convincing, and the wrong ones will never understand until it's too late. Let regret be their teacher. Let it knock on their door and stay as long as it needs to, while you move forward with grace, with strength, with freedom, because in the end, the loudest statement you'll ever make is the life you build without them.